This is 2100 pen, and I haven't really looked at it for about 3 or 4 months while it's been going through fab, and now you guys are going to start. And so, if in doubt, follow the drawings. I was thinking about it when I made the drawings. I'm trying to remember it all today to make this video, but I've been making mistakes with that memory thing lately. So, I'm just going to kind of go walk you through the drawings as if we were just having a meeting. And then you can see the drawings, and we'll just kind of page through it and see what I can remember. The biggest thing, there were two types of glass. The lights here along the western edge were too big to be done with one type of glass, so they got a special thing. That's glass D1A. The labels will say digital distinctions on it, and that's for here, and there should be 15 lights. The rest all happen in the main part of the skylight. Your retainer screws, when they get there, they should be 6 inches on center. You've got some double sealant joints to do in places. Elsewhere it's 3/8 deep, and I'll show you that as we page through it. This was a plan the GC had, or the architect had in their set with the platform below. I'm sure you guys have talked about this in your meetings. These notes over here on the left side, those are mine. I wrote those after I did the shop drawings. That will probably tell you how I thought all this was going to work better than anything else I can do. If you see something that's a conflict, I would lean towards this, but call and we can work through it. Try to remember what was what. These are the as-built drawings from the steel installation. And right here they're checking the elevation of the little steel pads that we attach to. And they're all coming out within 3 3/8. There's a 3 1/8, 3 1/4, 3 1/4. They're all pretty tight right where we want them to be. The top of the T's that happen at the ridge lines, this one is 6 15/16, 13, 15, pretty close. They should be 7, so it's a little low, but like an eighth low at worst. So that's looking pretty good. This page is the checking the centers. 4.8 feet from pad to pad is what we need, and it looks like they're pretty close on all of that. Center to center of the trusses should be 11.987 or something. So 1199, 1198, 98, 99. Those look right where they should be. Probably check them all as you're doing your layout. Maybe pull a string to center up all of these so you get a good average, and have a line 11 foot, 11 7/8 if I'm correct, from center of gutter to center of ridge to center of gutter, and then get a nice line snap so you can line your supports up. Just as a note, you're going to go by the pads, which will be fine, but the purl in the pipe that's part of the truss down here, it doesn't line up with our rafter exactly. These two do, but this one in the middle, it does not. It's off by an inch or something. Don't worry about that. That's the way it's supposed to be. Our end rafter should be centered over the tubes that run along this edge and this edge. And then along here, it's kind of hit or miss as to where it's going because it's curving and angled. If you're good here and here with the other frames, once you just get all your rafters lined up, this will be what it'll be. This west wall tube is tricky because it's sloping. It's high here, sloping down, narrowing in. It's tipped a little bit in plane so that our stuff lays on it nice and flat. It should be 1 foot 1 from grid line 11 to the outside of the tube. 1 foot 1 is like 1.078. So it's a little bit off there, but not too much. 1.07, a little bit off the other way. 07, I think it's going to be within a ½ inch, and that should work out okay. 12.03 could have been 1201, 1202. It's pretty close. So I think everything's got to be gauged off the center of the gutters. and then let everything else line up. You want to make sure your rafters are all lined up going this way, and you want to be pretty close on here. That should get you where you need to be. There's a lot of other stuff underneath that's not shown. There's all kinds of little boomerang shaped plates that they're going to connect the monorail system underneath here for cleaning. Those also line up with the pads, but then there's more of them on the edge. It gets pretty busy along the edges. So that's the check for the steel. Here's our version of the drawing. You can go in, there's more numbers if depending how much layout you want to do. There's a lot of layout. We've been coordinating it for a long time. When you get further along, we'll come back to this. This is where the metal studs have to go. And I'm going to leave that be for now, but there is a layout for that on A2D. And then here's our plan view. The shaded area requires different caulking than everywhere else. And that's where we're going to do an inner joint and then the outer joint. So the outer joint is always 3/8 deep because we got a nice thick piece of glass. But along here, anywhere you have a structural joint in that area, you got to put an extra 1/4 inch joint down below. And then let it sit for a week to 2 weeks to cure before you put that last joint over the top. So that's what this shaded area is because it gets higher wind out there. These lights in the last western frame, that's the digital ink. Here's a note kind of telling you where that goes. I think that's about it. There's window wash tie-offs here, and I'm going to zoom in real close. I forget sometimes you guys just have eyes that can't zoom in. So some of these, they all have a little symbol. Some have a little dot, some have a line. This one has a little line sticking off to the side. That's because there's a U-bolt coming off the side. So this one's going to have a 2-piece collar to come on it, and this one can have a 1-piece collar because it'll slip over the top. So kind of walk around and see where the guys with the side U-bolts are. There's 4, 5. I think there's 5 of them in this row on the west along here, and that's it. The rest of them are all just regular tubes with a U-bolt on top. So kind of do a count, make sure that's okay, make sure they didn't add or subtract. The guy who did the window wash tie-offs, he was going to lay it all out per this layout. Means there's going to be some tolerance. We're going to put holes in the ridge panel and let you guys cut them, and then we'll have a piece that fits over it. We'll get to that a little bit later as well. So that's our plan. A lot of gutters, a lot of perimeter panels. The skylight in the middle is pretty consistent though. This is a layout of the gutters. I tried to make all the pieces in the middle the same. They're all flat, 12 feet long. And these two have the same pitch, as do these. They're cross-hatched for what has the same pitch. So this one gets cut off, but it starts out the same. Then you have another batch of different pitches, and so you're always working out. And there was a reason for that, in that this gutter is supported by straps. And those straps all have to be different heights, so we've kept that. So here you'd have all the straps of one height, and then they would start to count down. And I think the barcode sheet will tell you better, but if you would look real close and zoom in, you would see it's a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's a 1 right there. And then because the pitches are the same, those straps repeat as you go down the whole skylight. So hopefully that makes it a little bit easier to keep track. There's a lot of parts, a lot of different parts, but there was a thought to how we were going to make that all work. This is the grating. Each grating panel is a length here. The grating guy made his about a 1/16 shorter than what we have. So a 1/4 inch joint's probably 5/16, 3/8. Don't worry about that. Right here, this one panel is going to have to get a bar cut. And when you get that far, talk to me and I'll show you what to do. It's going to be made like this, and you're going to take this long point bar and come back and then cut it off. That's about all you got to do. Here's the typical cross section of the skylight. So this is all the basic stuff. We're going to land on these pads. We got the little supports that you can drill. The rafters are notched. And then up here we have supports. And then in between, at about 20 locations, there's a big pipe with another pipe and then a U-bolt to make a tie-off. And that could vary a little bit left, right, in or out of the page. I think we have enough tolerance to accommodate that. But I guess we'll worry about that once the frame gets positioned. And we still are making these panels, so if we got a problem, if we find out there's a big difference, let me know right away and we can probably still make the parts to suit it. It's probably true for about a week, maybe a little bit more.